Peter Grant's one of those Celtic players that I've got to say during his time at Celtic, he wasn't the best midfield player, but he gave his all. And even his own testimonial back in the day, he missed an absolute sitter. But he has been talking about Scottish football. He has been talking about youngsters in the game. So let's listen and see what Peter has to say.
That the young boys don't even get an opportunity to go and show their skills if they're doing well because the squad's already been named. I agree with you. You're talking about maybe Kieran Tierney. You're talking about Callum McGregor. There's Stephen Welsh, I say, is a constant in the first team. So you're looking at, there's the last guys that's come through. And for the amount of money it's got to get into an academy each year,
yep.
You know, you're saying, is that worth it? Because all you're going to do is lose them, like the young boys to Liverpool.
Yeah, sure.
The young Doak, that's right. So you've got the likes of him to Liverpool. Yep. And that you're thinking, how do we go around about it? Because they know, you used the word there, cannon fodder. I was down in England for that period of time, and that's all they do. They scour Scotland. Anybody that's doing, anybody under 14, 15 that's doing anywhere near well, they're straight on to him and say, right, listen, we'll go and spend £250,000 on. Because they know he'll be on about £30 a week. They know at 16 years of age they can come out the contract. There's something in there between 16 and I think 18. I'm sure. I'm not 100% sure if it's the same up here, but you can move on. And that is the difficulty we're going to have. These boys are, one, they're not getting an opportunity to play. I keep saying it, there's too many kids standing at the side of the pitch. There's too many teams. The squads are bloated. I don't agree with all the subs since COVID. I don't agree with that, because then your squads would be smaller, I believe, and I believe then kids would get an opportunity. And sometimes, as you know yourself, or you've watched the game a long time, kids surprise you. If they're given an opportunity, how much they can surprise you, and all of a sudden you've got a diamond on your hand. How would a Paul Mcstay get a chance at 17 years of age? If it was like nowadays, he maybe not he wasn't named in the 25 at the start of the season, but he's playing brilliant, so we need to give him a chance. But we can't, because he's not in the squad, so he'd never get a chance. So you're talking about players like that who were absolute diamonds.
So that's interesting that he's talking about the size of the squad and the fact that we've got to name the squad for Europe before a ball's been kicked. And when you think about it, he's right. When you've got players that are coming through the youth system, how are they meant to get a chance? Because you're not going to name them. You don't know how good they're going to progress as players until we're into the season.
Financially, as I say to you, there are youth team players in England getting £30,000 a week.
So that's the player's perspective as well. And I get it for young players.
When they get relegated, I thought it was about 120, 130, but Granty says 160. So round about that. See, for the 4 seasons after that, they get another 25 to 30 million per season if they don't get promoted back into the
parachute payments.
4 parachute payments.
He said we're cannon
So that's
fodder.
another 100 million in top,
exactly. So
the 120, 30, 40 or 50.
So it's a massive gulf. See, for the fans though, there's 60,000 at Celtic, there's 52,000 at Rangers, and they've got to get, surely they both need to, let's take Celtic just now. Loy's a Celtic fan. They have to do better on occasions. Not last night in Madrid, right? We get that. That's not the disaster night. But then to lose out to Lazio the other week, I'm trying to see, is there any cause for optimism? Because otherwise, why bother? Apart from getting the 30 million, you need to win the title, agreed, to get the 30 million. But surely there has to be some hope for fans that they get special nights where they beat a Man United or a Barcelona or
on a one-off ball. You're going to be able to do that. But Celtic or Rangers couldn't buy a Lazio player.
No,
that's true.
They couldn't buy a Atletico Madrid player. They probably couldn't buy a Feyenoord player now. Absolutely not, because they're all going for 30, 40 million. I'm talking about Jimenez now, because he scored a few goals, talking about 60, 70 million for him.
Rangers bought Danilo.
As usual, Rangers
Good old
look at that, it's 6 million.
Trying to give us all a good laugh. But when you think about it, right, I mean, a lot of people are saying that Celtic need to go out and spend £5-10 million on a player. When you look at the players that we've brought in, we're going to go back to this again, and I'm sorry if it sounds like we're repeating ourselves, but we'll go back to the last transfer window, and the next transfer window is just as important, because we're at a stage where we could lose quite a few players, and we're going to lose a youth player that has been banging in goals for the B team. I'll talk about him in a second. But when you look at players that we have lost and players that we've brought in, they haven't been good enough. Now, would you forsake 5 of the players that we brought in last summer to spend 10 million on 2 better players that have had that a little bit of experience? We're just talking about a little bit of experience at this level. You know, it's okay, fine, it's fine and well bringing in players that Peter Grant talking about the size of the squad for starters. He reckons that the size of the squad's been bloated now, isn't giving youth a chance. And he was right. What about Paul Mcstay coming through at 17 years old? Paul Mcstay wouldn't get a chance in the team just now. He would have been put out on loan to somewhere else, which is absolutely devastating. Peter Grant also went on to talk about Rocco Vata. Now the Rocco Vata situation, Rocco Vata has been banging in goals for the B team. So everyone's been talking about Rocco Vata, and is it the case that he's not signing this new contract? He doesn't want to sign the new contract. He's been playing through the middle rather than the winger for the B team recently, and he's been scoring goals. We need to be able to see him play in the first team. We need to be able to see the young players that are at Celtic. If we do not start introducing them into the team a bit earlier, rather than putting them out on loan, we're never going to progress as a club by bringing through our own talent. And ultimately, we need to be bringing in our own talent rather than bringing in these guys from abroad that we're spending 2 million on, 3 million on, 1.5 million. You know, we're bringing these guys in at 20, 21-year-olds, giving them a chance. They're not good enough. If that's the case, get our own players in, get them in about the first team action as soon as we can, then find out if they're good enough. If then they're not good enough, then they can go on, they can move on. You know, we are not doing enough when it comes to our B team, and it's not doing enough to players. It's not inciting the players to have the motivation to push on at Celtic. Hence, Ben Doak goes down to Liverpool. Rocco Vata, doesn't matter if he's scored 5 goals in 4 weeks on the bounce. He's not getting in the squad. He's not getting in the match day squad. You know, ever since Carmichael Dumbelly, okay, he's done absolutely nothing. But when you look at it, the 18-year-old in the B team, right, he's taken his tally to 20 goals, I think it is, for the B team. So he's clearly ready for the next step up. He's clearly ready for Vata's obviously at that age now where he needs to be kind of breaking into the first team, getting onto the bench, coming on for the last 10 minutes, but we're not doing that. Now, is it down to the fact that he hasn't going to renew this contract? Celtic did get an offer, I believe, for him last summer, and they turned that down. Brendan Rodgers needs to have a complete rethink, and he needs to go to the board. And I'm going to go on about this again. Brendan Rodgers is not at fault for this situation that Celtic are in this year. He is not. People can say you can look at his record in Europe. You can look at his record in Europe at Leicester. You can look at his record in Europe the last time around. We're talking about the here and now. Let's forget about the past. Let's talk about the here and now and talk about the situation that we currently find ourselves in as a football club. We spent a lot of money, good money. Well, it wasn't a lot of money in the grand scheme of things, but we brought a lot of players in. We brought 9 players in at the summer. There's only one of them, Lewis Palmer, that has made any difference to the first team football. You're not telling me that there isn't guys, Bosun Lowell for instance, you know, there isn't guys that were sitting in the B team that could have stepped up and saved us 2 million. You know, they saved us a couple of million here or there, and then they can get their chance to prove themselves. But instead we put them out on loan so they can get game time, which I think is completely devastating as far as Celtic are concerned.
Lit. Roll up to the party, roll up to the party, roll up to the party, roll up to